So let's start off. Are your services still free of charge?
Absolutely, Josh. Yes, our services are free of charge. So everything is supported by the banks. Okay. So we work with a pool of banks. The client will choose the best proposal. Then we move forward, and after the deed, this bank will pay us a commission for the service.
Can I do this process fully remotely? Is that still possible? What's that like?
Yeah, it's possible to do it entirely remotely. If you hire a lawyer to represent you here, you can be in the US, for example, continue you're working. The process takes like 2 months, and the lawyer can do a lot of things to you. It's important to check if the lawyer can, first, help you with the promissory contract. Why is that? Because here in Portugal, we don't have the escrow accounts, or it's not usual at least. So usually you pay 10% to the seller when signing a promissory contract. This money goes right into a third party, so you have to be careful about that. So you should have a lawyer to check and verify all this contract to insert the necessary clauses to protect you. Okay. Second, the lawyer can open a bank account for you with a power of attorney. The certification of all documents. This is great. Instead of apostilling all the financial details abroad, you can use a lawyer. It's not a common certification, but the lawyer can do this for you, certify all the financial details, check all the documents for you. And in the end, one day before the deed, the lawyer will, let's say, schedule a visit on the finances to get the tax papers, the so-called IMT and Imposto de Selo. This is a transfer tax and a stamp duty. Why the day before? Because these tax papers, they expire in 24 hours, okay? And on the following day, the lawyer will be there to represent you. You don't need to be here. The lawyer will sign the deed, pay the taxes, and leave the deed with the keys in hands and the documents of the property, and can be in custody of it until you come. If you want to put it for rent, your agent can rent right away, or it can be in custody of the lawyer until you come.
Okay. Off the top of your head, what percentage of your clients have done this fully remotely? Like 10%, 20%?
No, much more.
Okay.
70% maybe.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So 70% of the buyers that you've worked with have been outside of Portugal.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So that's why it's so important to have an experienced lawyer. And of course, we can make valuable introductions if you need. And that's it, yeah. It can be done, and it's incredible. It's very safe and very doable.
Are the rules for foreigners still the same in 2023 as they were in previous years?
Yes, they are. These conditions are mutable. They are always changing, but right now it's the same. It's the same from last time we talked. US passports, Canadian passports, British passports, and all European passports can buy from abroad with a 20% down payment. Okay. Other passports, they will ask for 30%. But the main thing here is that you can buy a property in two ways here. As a primary house, if you live here and you have what is most important, your income is here in Portugal, then you can apply for the 10-20% down payment depending on the appraisal, or you buy as a secondary house. Most of my clients buy this way because they have income abroad. So even if you're living here but your income is abroad, the bank will put you in the secondary house. Okay, that's the rule right now. So US passports, Canadian passports, and European passports can benefit of a 20% down payment.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. I'm living in Portugal, but my income is from abroad, so I would be in that second category. I would not be in the first category where if I have a Portuguese job living here in Portugal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the main difference here is the source of income. If it's here in Portugal, you can apply for a primary house. But look, the primary house is not an investment. You cannot rent this house, at least formally. The secondary house, you can live in it, you can rent. If you are in the US, for example, you can use as an investment.
Does that change the rates?
No, absolutely the same. Just the down payment will change. The rest is exactly the same.
Okay. All right, we all know that inflation is on the rise, and it's been on the rise. So how have conditions here changed since the last time we talked in December of 2021?
Yeah, Josh, for sure, it changed a lot all over the world.
Yeah.
Because inflation is everywhere.
Yeah.
But look, compared with the States, let's make this comparison. US has now a 30-year fixed for 6.5, almost 7%. Right. Here is like more 4.5 to 5%. So we are like 200 basis points below US. So we're still doing good. And what is most important here is that you can adjust this rate in time. Okay. So after 2 years, you can, if we have better conditions, we can try to fix this until you get a better rate.
Okay, so I could refinance when conditions are better.
Exactly. So,
okay.
It's not a bad deal to go to finance now, because you can adjust this later. And you can go with a variable rate, because probably, as we can see with this Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse problems, probably the central banks will not be rising this much more. So we are very close to the top, if not at the top yet. So probably a variable rate is not a bad deal, because you can benefit of these rates going down in the near future.
Okay, in your experience, how long does it take for these rates to come down?
Usually an interest crisis takes like 2 years to go, and we have already 1 year in this one, so okay. More half a year, 1 year.
Okay, so this is why you recommend that maybe in 2 years' time, refinance, get a lower rate, maybe change banks. Is that possible?
Yeah, it's totally possible. So you can try to refinance internally, which is not very easy. Okay. But you can migrate to another bank. So if in 2025 some bank come to you and say, look, Josh, I can give you a 2.7 fixed rate, and you can migrate to this bank. Okay. There are some costs to do this, like you have to pay another deed, 1,000 euros. And the penalty for early payment, that is 0.5% on the variable rate. So for every 100,000, you pay 500 euros as a penalty. Okay? And look, some banks are willing to reimburse you of this cost just to gain the client. Okay? That's great for the consumer.
The deed cost as well, or just the internal fee?
Yeah, it's negotiable. They can do this. Negotiable. Yeah.
Okay. I've actually been talking to a lot of real estate professionals about this, and I wanted to get your opinion. What do you think about the housing bubble here in Portugal? Do you think that there is a housing bubble? And if so, do you think that it's going to burst anytime soon? Look,
talking with other economists and real estate experts, we don't see a bubble here in Portugal, because our inventory is really low. Right, and the demand is still huge. Yeah. So we need we're in a big deficit comparing this from demand and supply. So we don't see this. We really don't see this. What I think is that probably this year, with economic conditions and the raise of interest rates, maybe the sellers will not be receiving so many offers as they used to. So probably it's a time to make a more aggressive offer, like below the listing price, because in the last 5 years I just see listing price or above this. So now maybe it's the time for a nice negotiation. Okay, the rate is not the best, but you can adjust this in time. Okay, so it's an interesting year to make an acquisition.
So then that brings me to my next question: is 2023 a good time to get a mortgage here in Portugal?
I think it is, Josh, because as I said, you can get a good offer, a good deal this year, or maybe in 2024, and you can adjust these rates later. Look, there are other things that you can do. For example, you can do a mixed rate. So, for example, for 2 or 3 years, so you can get this fixed rate for a while until this turmoil times passed, and then you go automatically into the variable rate without the need of changing to any banks. Okay? So maybe the variable rate and this small fixed rate term can be interesting for the client this year. But the most important thing, I think, is that you can make more good offers, put good offers in properties this year.
Okay. Yeah, because one of the things that I always think about with real estate is that the best time to buy is now, and the worst thing to do is wait, because if we continue to wait on this bubble to burst, it may never burst, right? And as we've seen in 2021, 2022, prices continue to rise, where people thought because of the pandemic, that prices were going to come down, and they didn't, right? So if you had bought in 2021, you'd be in a much better position than in 2023. Yeah. So you think that the same still applies, like it's better to go ahead and buy that property that you want now as opposed to waiting?
Yeah, sure. There will be never will be an ideal time to buy.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to weigh the pros and cons. But as I said, probably right now is the best time to make a deal in a property, making a good offer, paying it below the listing price. Okay, the rates are not the best, but we can adjust this in time, and I can help you.
Let's talk about purchasing then. Do I need to have a property defined, like, okay, I want house A, or should I get pre-approved and then go through the process that way?
Yeah, some clients come with a property already done, CPCV signed.
Okay.
But look, they didn't check previously, if they had the conditions or to get the mortgage. Okay. So the best thing to do is check with the bank first. It's a double work, but it's worth it. We check now with the banks. You get the pre-approval, so you know how much you can get, if you can get first, and how much you can get. And then you go to the field. You talk to the agents. It's good, look, Josh, because you can say, agent, I have 3-4 pre-approvals with Rafael in this bank, so yeah, I'm really interested. So you motivate the agents to look for properties. Once you find it, let's suppose 2 months passed. You come back to me and say, Rafael, I want to go with the bank B in the fixed rate, 3 years, whatever. Okay, here are some documents of the property, because the final approval only happens with the documents of the property. So first is the pre-approval, and then you have to make a final approval, and then you have to probably update some 2 months of pay stubs, the bank statements, maybe the credit report, but just that. But it's the best way to do it. Then we're going to make an approval in this very bank, and then an appraisal. Okay? The appraisal is very important because the appraisal can define how much the bank will lend. Okay? If they say 80% is of the purchase price or the appraisal amount, the lower one.
Oh, okay.
That's why we recommend to the clients not to pay the 10% before the appraisal. Because if you have a bad appraisal, you want to get out of the deal, right?
I see.
Usually this doesn't happen, but it can happen, okay?
So how long does it take from when you've identified a property, signed the CPCV, which is like the deposit, and then you get all the bank documents ready and the loan is now approved so you can do the final deed? How long does all this take? Sure.
Once you sign the promissory contract, it takes like 45 to 60 days until the deed, okay? Because we're going to make another approval 1 week, an appraisal 1 more week. Then the bank will have to issue the letters of credit, gather all the documents. We have other bureaucratic things like, for example, if there is a claim or a mortgage in this very property, they need like 10 working days to cancel this one and insert yours. So bureaucratic things, but it's 45 to 60 days.
Can it happen faster depending on?
It can.
Okay.
Sometimes when the client has a deadline on the CPCV, I try to make it quicker, but don't force this because we cannot do this in 1 month probably.
Okay.
It's it can be done, but it's difficult.
It's difficult.
And you can look, if you pass the deadline, you can be the seller can ask for the money. This is important, and you have to talk about this with your lawyer. When you put an offer, it's not just the price. It's price, a time for the appraisal, and a time for the deed.
Okay.
This can be inserted in the clauses for the promissory contract. This is very important.
Does usually the seller put that in there because they want to get their money, so they put in different like dates or times that they expect things to happen? Is this common in Portugal?
No, usually it's 10% on the signing and the remaining on the deed.
Okay.
Okay, so it goes like that. Let's suppose your down payment is 20%. 10% you pay on the promissory contract. Until the date of the deed, you're gonna deposit this remaining 10% in your new account in Portugal, because this bank will ask you to open an account, a new account in the bank to have the debits for the mortgage. And on the date of the deed, the bank will make a big check of 90%, being 80% loan, 10% your deposit. We'll give this to the seller, and you or your lawyer will show on the date of the deed the receipt of the first 10%. So the seller 100% paid. You or your lawyer will sign the deed, pay the taxes, and leave the deed with everything, okay? If you go by yourself and you don't know Portuguese, you have to hire an interpreter to go with you,
right? Okay.
With the lawyer, no problem. The lawyer can do this without anything.
Yeah, and we have a really good lawyer, so that person is the one that's going to be able to tell us what things are being said in Portuguese into English, because he's fluent at English. Okay,
excellent.
Great. All right, so I've heard that like employment situation is a little complicated and it's different than maybe some other countries like the US. So can you explain how someone needs to show like the proof of their income so that the banks feel comfortable lending to them?
This is a very important point, Josh. You have two ways of access credit here in Portugal. Or you have a regular job with pay stubs, this kind of thing. This is easy to approve. Or you run your business. And this is more complicated. The bank will have to check how much is going every month in your personal accounts, okay? They use it to check the P&L and balance sheet of your company, but right now they're just wanting to see how much is being credited in your personal accounts, okay? So, for example, a company that has an incredible revenue, 1 million, but they just distribute the profits in December, this is a problem for the bank, because the bank will think that in a pandemic year, for example, you not distribute profits. So the best thing here, what I mean is that it's better 5,000 each month than 100,000 in 1 month, okay? Oh, about the ways of access the credit. So passive income is not accepted. So from stocks, cryptos, funds, even if you have a great quantity enter every month, the bank will not accept it. Rental income can be considered depending on the bank, but the most usual ways are regular job with pay stubs, or you have a pension, can be accepted also, and if you run your business. Okay.
So the best thing for people who do make money off of stocks or crypto would be cash, to be a cash buyer?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. What kind of advice would you like to give foreigners about purchasing properties here in Portugal?
What I see is that the conditions are getting tight every year. So European central banks have reduced the terms, golden visa has gone. So and we see in other countries, for example, Australia and Canada recently, they are not allowing foreigners to buy properties anymore. So here in Portugal, we have this opportunity to for a foreigner, even with a job abroad, to buy and finance a property in Portugal, which is great, using Portuguese banks. So I think it's very good. So if you plan to retire here in 10 years or use it as an investment, whatever, it's time. Maybe it's time to go for it, because we never know how long these conditions will stay.
Okay. If people want to get in touch with you, is it all right if they reach out to us first and then we'll put them in contact with you?
Sure, sure.
That sound good?
We'll schedule a video meeting where we explain give all the information that the client will need, like I'll calculate taxes, simulate the mortgage, help you with whatever questions you might have, and maybe check the documents to see if everything, if you can qualify, etc.
Rafael, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to see more on Portugal housing, click this video up here. Now let's get moving. Bye.